we're back, Alicia,
Valerie,
and we're here with our legacy of love and laughter that we're going to share some stories about life as it's changed since we were little. And, when I was thinking about this, when I took my little break to make sure I was in order before I came out, I was thinking about when we were born, like almost 80 years ago and 77 years ago. And I remembered that I'm sure you remember this, Mom talking about when we were born, you'd go to the hospital, you'd have your baby, and you'd be there 2 weeks. It was after a few days that they would let you dangle your feet off of the bed. So now people, have babies at home. Well, that's like in the old days. And so things have changed a lot.
And FYI, today is September 12th.
Today's the 12th, yeah.
2022, and it was a
last Thursday.
Right. And that was a bad time. That was a very bad time. But we bought the campground 10 years ago in September.
Wow.
And so I just thought that would be an interesting little tidbit to stick in there.
That is a tidbit. And when you were talking about, a few days ago, we were wanting to mention that today is September 12th, and it was last Thursday that the Queen died. And so now you all have experienced some history. The Queen of England.
We worked hard at this.
I'm gonna behave. But anyway, the Queen of England, she was a queen for 70 years. So I was 7 and she was 10 when the Queen was crowned, in the coronation.
Coronated, yeah.
So that was pretty surprising. And so over the years, we talked a little bit in our history thing. So we're not going to go back there right now, but just know that you have witnessed a pretty big chunk of history for England. All righty. Well, we wanted to talk about how different things are, from when we were kids. What about some of those conveniences,
I don't know, things we never thought about. So futuristic at the time, like, you wouldn't have that. Why would you need this or that? We can't live without it now. But there were a lot of things that were great that we've got now.
We think we can't live without it. We can live without it. We just think we can't live without it. And the manufacturers and advertisers want us to think we can't live without it. Just saying. So we wanted to talk first about the telephone. I mean, wow. Do you remember getting your first cell phone?
Oh, my word. Seems like a very long time ago now. I guess it was a little bitty thing. No, actually, the first one I got was big. I don't remember much about it.
I remember I got my own cell phone in 2000. That was when I was moving from Virginia to Texas. And I got the cell phone. I got one for me and one for Sammy and Marky because they were both living with me at the time. And I wanted to make sure if I was at work, I could contact them. So, that was my first...
I didn't think I'd ever need a cell phone. I couldn't see why I would need a cell phone. Now I can't see how I could live without my cell phone. And I only use it for pictures, calls, and text. That's it. Nothing fancy. That's all I need it for. And, of course, it's getting pretty tired. By the time I get ready to buy a new one, there's going to be all kinds of extra stuff, I'm sure, added to it.
Yeah, they changed so much. And, I think we probably use like a tenth of what it's capable of. But I will say we sometimes use my phone to make the videos. So, and they come out pretty good. But right now we're on my laptop. All right, so for us, when we were kids, first of all, you had a phone with a dialer. You put your finger in the hole and put it around on the number you want, and then it goes back, and then you go
and you can get pretty good. Zip, 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 zip.
Yes, you could get
then
pretty
they invented
Well, we have seen. Tell them about that video with the teenagers and the dial phone.
It's been long enough, and this is weird because when it's in our lifetime, you all have seen push-button phones and maybe rotary phones, but they had taken some phones to some teenage kids, I'd say anywhere between 15 and 18, 20, something like that, and just put the phone down in front of them, all hooked up and everything, and said, okay, make a call. Gave them the phone numbers, they could make a call. They had no idea how to even begin. They didn't know. They gave them the rotary one, and they gave them the push-button one. Push-button one, they did a little better. But they had no idea how to make it work, and they're shaking it and banging on it and doing all kinds of stuff. And like we learned right at the beginning, so it was natural. But now that stuff is all gone, and now you use the cell phone. You can actually talk your number or punch in your number. It's just getting more
Most of all, you don't need a number. You just say, call Valerie.
That's right.
And you have
I'm
your
not that
choice.
techno yet.
Call Valerie on her home landline, call Valerie on her cell phone,
Right.
So that's how. Do you remember, seriously, do you remember all the phone numbers you need? Do you remember all the phone numbers you need
I remember most of them.
that you
They
need
solve
now?
lots. Yeah.
Well,
Oh
wow.
yeah. I'm good because I never.
But I mean, if you were to call your doctor,
Oh, I'm not going to remember.
you
my
don't need
doctor's
numbers.
number.
I can't remember my own phone number
That's the
sometimes
problem.
because you don't put in numbers. You put them in there and then you have to hope it works.
I remember all my kids' numbers. Donald's number. That's basically your number.
Yeah,
Those are
well,
the numbers
that's
I
not
need.
a feat.
I'm going to tell you something. Everybody else I know has to look it up or push a button and says 3, and that brings up whoever you want.
Another funny thing about the phones in our day is they had cords. So
You were
you
limited.
couldn't go very far. So if you wanted to have a private conversation, wasn't happening. And how many phones were there in the average house?
One.
One.
Sometimes there was only one in the average 2 houses next door to each other, and you shared a party line.
A party line. Oh my stars. And if you had neighbors who wanted to, or you never know. I never knew where the people on the party line
No,
were.
I think they did that on
Hooked up.
purpose.
That was in the day when instead of people being on computers behind, because they didn't have them yet, the operators would have this board in front of them with a whole bunch of holes. And they take the hole out and they stick it in that one, and then they take that one, and that's how they connected people. And I'm sure there were times they probably got frustrated and just wanted to go yank them all out, and there you go. But on a party line, first of all, you have to be quiet. You don't say anything. You just pick up the phone and okay, hang it up, and you don't know, so you go back and you check again. Oh God, they're still doing it, You had
to
to
be
wait.
respectful. You had to, if somebody else was on, if it's an emergency, it's different. You just cut in. Otherwise, you have to be respectful and let them have their time.
Yeah, but some people took advantage of that. It was very hard to get them to hang up and let you talk. And so then they started getting really long cords. You were still on the
curly.
cord, and they were curly. And when you'd hang up the phone, it'd go and curl itself all up in this long hanging knot.
And it's funny now. It really wasn't.
It is. And so if you watched the movie The Help and you saw the main character trying to talk to the editor on the phone and stretching that cord as far as she could to get into the pantry so she could talk privately, that was the way it was. So there wasn't a whole lot of privacy with the phones. Then you could get extensions. Now, extensions were like a party line in your own house.
But I don't think the extension came out before the party line changed. I think you could only get an extension phone if you had a private line.
Right. But, again, where goes your privacy? Because if you want to make a private call, and then mom or dad picks up the phone, or it's like, how long do you want to be on that phone?
What phone?
Can't hide them anymore. And it's had its positive things. Now everybody's got a phone, but I don't think they communicate very well. As a matter of fact, scientists are very concerned that young people are losing their ability for sympathy, empathy, and compassion.
Any kind of communication.
Yeah.
Letting people know how you are, or finding out how they are. The phone was a real nice convenience. I mean, it still is, but you're still only talking to a machine. You don't see the person's eyes. You don't feel their presence. It's not the same.
Well, you can FaceTime now, just saying. You can do that.
You can
do that.
FaceTime. I
Yeah.
don't do it well.
So, boy, we spent a lot of time just talking about the phone. We got this whole list of things we want to talk about, and I don't think we're going to do it all today. But anyway,
we don't want to have to go over it all again, you know.
Yeah, we
It was
want to
one-shot deal.
cover it, although we probably will because we're older and we forget.
You got notes. You're supposed to mark the notes.
It doesn't matter because when things pop into our head, somehow they fly right out of our mouth. There's no guard between the brain and the mouth. Out it comes.
That's for sure.
Well, another thing that came around in our lifetime was air conditioning, and I think we touched on this. I seem to recall talking about this with history, but I'm not sure. So we're going to repeat it because you know what? You'll remember it more. You remember air conditioning coming, and where did it come first? And
I think it came first to public buildings. I don't think we had them privately for a long time. You know.
Yeah, I think they came first to the what do you call those? The worship centers, the churches of Mammon, the stores.
The stores, yeah. Go to the mall. They were all air conditioned. You could always go to the mall.
No, we couldn't. They didn't have malls.
Yeah,
They didn't have
I'm
malls.
older than I thought I was.
Well, we had Main Street. That's where you did your shopping. You did your shopping on Main Street.
That's right.
And but they would advertise. They'd put in the window air conditioned inside.
Yeah, they did. Restaurants too.
Yes. And they would take little ribbons and hang them in the front of the air conditioner, and they'd be blowing, and you, ooh, the air conditioner's on.
Let's go eat there.
So it was first in stores.
Do
Temple.
you know
That's
that
what I was thinking. The word I was thinking of was Temple of Mammon, which
Right.
means money, which means stores.
That's what I was going to say.
Well, we were talking about when did we get them? Because they came first.
Do you realize that's what it was? They don't. A lot of schools still don't have air conditioning.
Really?
Yep.
Well, actually, now that you say that, when Sammy went to Vinyl in 2005, I brought her down for the the introductory night, and there was, believe it or not, in the gym, there was no air conditioning in the gym. We were in there, and it was hotter than Hades. So I didn't realize so many schools didn't have it, though. I thought maybe it was just the Vinyl gym.
Well, they figure the schools are only open mostly in the fall and the winter, in the spring. Summertime, when it's supposed to be hot, a lot of schools are closed.
Yeah.
So,
and for those young people, if any young people are watching this, or you're probably going to be 20 years down the road when you're ready to watch it, that you got out of school not to have a summer vacation. You got out of school to help on the farm so the family could eat for the winter.
that's right.
So, but the schools were empty, so, now then I spent a number of years down south and in Texas, Virginia, and like that, and most of their schools are air conditioned because it does get really hot all through the year. But do you remember getting your first air conditioner?
No, I don't. I thought I always had a fan.
Fan, that was the interim between open windows being your air conditioning to a fan being your air conditioning to an actual air conditioner.
I don't remember getting our first one. We lived here.
I think my first I never had one down there. I never had one down in Moodus. I think my first air conditioner came with an apartment when I rented an apartment. So other than that, I'd never had one that
I don't think we had one in New Britain when we were kids.
There was no way to put one in the house in Moodus because I had all these big windows. There was no window to put it in. Those are called window air conditioners. So yeah, we did not have air conditioning till the 80s, which seems like a long way ago to you, but it seems like yesterday to us,
it's
right?
going by quicker every day.
I tell you. So a couple other tidbits we'd like to point out, and we've gotten so crazy, Another fun fact for things that we have had then have now that didn't have then One of them was your car did not have an automatic transmission. There was no such thing. I'm embarrassed because I meant to look up when did automatic transmissions come into use, but I can't remember. I know I did have an automatic transmission when I first learned how to drive,
When I first
and
learned
that was in the mid '60s.
Yeah.
So I remember because it was a little stick with the PR.
I had 2 kids before I learned how to drive.
Yeah.
Wasn't interested, still not interested. I do it when I have to.
She did not want to drive, to the point that when she was having a baby and she needed to have a doctor's appointment, I would drive her because she was not wanting to drive. But you made up to that for all
Once
the
we
time.
had 3 kids and we moved to Moodus, and Donald said, you really seriously have to do more driving. I actually learned in New Britain when we lived there and took the test on my father-in-law's car. First time I ever drove it was the day I had my test. I was scared to death. It was the only really respectable car we had between all of us, and it was either that or our purple station wagon. I didn't do that. But it was quite the thing to be able to drive. I don't like it any better now than I did then, but you gotta go, you gotta get places.
Yeah. So you got to drive. But that's another thing about cars. The average family back in our day would have one car. My parents had one car. So it wasn't like you had the ability to just hop in the car and go somewhere. There was no car.
There was no place to go anyway. We didn't go hardly any place. I mean, if you had to go shopping, you'd go into the store.
Yeah.
But you didn't, unless you were going on a vacation.
Yeah.
Vacation, well, you could go on vacation, all right. But to just cruise around, we didn't do that.
No.
As teenagers,
Yeah.
just before we got married, Donald and I, once in a while, you could put in $2 worth of gas and you could cruise for the whole day.
Yep.
You can't do that anymore.
I hate to say it, I'd put in 50 cents worth and drive to the beach and back.
All right, see?
25
You're
cents
such a
gallon.
spendy person.
I was not good with cars. Oh my goodness. We'll talk about that another day under embarrassing things and scary things. So we also, talking still on the cars, there were no GPSs. So if you didn't know,
Cell phone.
yeah, see that? She's interrupting our precious
She
time.
just landed
to look-
in Tennessee for business, so she had to let me know she arrived all right.
That's another travel
flew.
thing. Flying was unheard of for the average family. When my mom went on her first flight with her friend Helen, they flew all the way from Connecticut to Pennsylvania. And my mom was really excited about going to Pennsylvania and going on an airplane, but she was also a worrywart. And I remember her talking and saying, I was ironing my clothes, and I would say, I could die today, but I'm going.
Was it Pennsylvania or was it New Jersey? They lived in both places.
It was Pennsylvania,
It
I'm
was
pretty
Pennsylvania?
sure. Yeah,
couldn't
I think
remember.
we have pictures. You know, so yeah, things were different. I mean, people gripe about air travel. Well, back then it was unheard of to get on a plane, and back then you were probably on a prop job that it could.
But they'd give you a free drink.
And what I did, I took a prop plane from Hartford to Rhode Island.
Oh, a real brave one.
I had won a contest, and so I said, "You want to fly me? I'm flying."
That's a
And
total travel flight.
oh, it was. And the way out was okay. When I came back, it's starting to go like that, and she comes around. She, "Can I help you with a cocktail?" And I said, I can have one. You know, it's first of all, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, but you know, I could have died, you know. And so I said, I can have one. And she said, if I can pour it, you can drink it.
Give me a straw.
I did not drink a lot of that drink, and when I got off that plane, I was so sick. Air travel has changed a lot. Back in the day, when those barf bags were in that little back pocket, they were used a lot. So here we are with Kimberly.
You know, it's
up,
funny.
off, over, and in Pennsylvania now. Is Pennsylvania?
No, Tennessee.
Tennessee,
Where's
of course.
Graceland? Is that Tennessee?
Tennessee.
That's where she is. She's in Tennessee.
Oh,
But it is
yeah.
on business. Graceland is just a sideline tour. But, you know, the business about flying and drinking and stuff like that, things have changed so much. When it finally got really popular, you get a regular fancy meal. If you were a vegetarian, you could get a vegetarian meal. If you were kosher, you could get a kosher meal. Now you better bring a bag lunch because they don't give you anything anymore. No free drink, no free meal, no free anything. So
Yeah,
things have changed.
Yeah, and right before they changed, the quality had dropped off a lot. And that also, with many airlines, is now with drinking. Because so many people abuse the privilege that they get drunk and unruly, but I'm sure you know that, especially all you Karens out there. Ooh, did I say that out loud?
Tell them what a Karen is, because by the time they look at this, it may be history.
Okay, in case this is going out and it's going to be, you know, saved out there in the universe somewhere, and so someone may actually be watching this many years later, and the word Karen refers to an entitled, middle-aged, white woman who always wants to talk to the manager if they don't get their way, and they are totally out of control. But we have come to a place which, this is nowhere where I thought we were going.
I'm sorry.
But no, but you know what? But the thing is, it came up for a reason, so we can talk about it. We have currently come to a place where people have become very inhospitable in many cases. And that includes people who want to speak to the manager if you're not, you know, kissing their feet and going above and beyond and answering to their spoiled. I hate to tell you this, folks, we are spoiled. We are spoiled by all that good technology. And you know what? That happens sometimes. You start to think you're better than somebody else. But what you have to find out is that we're really all the same. Doesn't matter what country you live in. And a really important thing, I think maybe it is why you led me in that direction, is because you can be happy anywhere. Even the Bible says that a man can be happy in a hovel, in a shack, as opposed to in a palace with a contentious wife. Oh, Lord have mercy. Sometimes we just say things to make
Some
ourselves
of those things,
laugh.
they just slip by so quick, and it's really sad that so much changes. So people think they can have anything they want. You can, but you do have to work for it. And now that's an issue. People working, not working, having COVID, which really put us a couple of years behind. And now people are staying more to themselves. They're not mixing with other people. It's an awful lot.
That's more history that you are living through. So, you know, the previous pandemic was in the 1800s, and now we're in the 2000s.
Always remember, what goes around comes around, and it could happen again.
1918.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, before I was born this time. You better behave, because if you're coming back, you got your own karma to deal with. Oh, my God. Okay, so we haven't even been drinking.
Yeah, and when we do, this is what we're drinking.
Hibiscus tea and water. Cheers. Okay, so now let's get on to things. We're talking on a computer. Valerie was interrupted by her cell phone, but
I just thought you'd like to see what one looked like in 2022.
yeah, they'll probably be this big. Now,
Right.
you know
It's
what?
a chip, you put it in your ear.
They're gonna get so much bigger, because when all these young whippersnappers that are coming out with this, how small can we make this thing? You know? Oh, I can type with my thumbs.
Well,
No,
you
I
got flip
can't.
phones coming out again now.
I heard that. What a waste.
Right.
That's like bell bottoms, for God's sake. You could kill yourself in those things.
You certainly can.
I know. So we did not have computers. I got my first computer. It was a used computer that my dad gave me when I was in seminary back in 1990. And it had a black screen and yellow letters, and you kind of like typed on it. And oddly, before personal computers were well, spread among people. It's funny that Atari came out. Atari came out in like 1984 or something like that, and that beat the computer. But so the computer's a branch out of that. Aside from that great big computer that used to take up a whole room. That, if you got a tablet, many people that have nimble fingers use their phones.
Yeah.
But that first IBM computer, how big was that?
Yeah, monstrous.
Took up the whole room.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It looked like a machine. It didn't look like a computer.
And if you want to look at what that was kind of like, you might want to go to see the movie Hidden Figures.
Yeah.
That's where they had
very good movie.
those big IBM or whatever they were, Univac something, and they had little cards, and you'd have to feed the cards into them. It was, and you had to punch the holes in the cards, and you had to put the cards into the computer like crazy.
But nobody was stealing your information then.
That's
Just
true.
turn a computer on now, and somebody wants to steal your information.
The internet.
That's right.
And the endless car warranty calls.
Oh God. Everybody wants your money nowadays.
They do, but you know what? We can play the game and not give it to them, because when not everything they say we need, we really don't need.
You just have to realize that yourself.
Yeah,
You got to smarten up.
yeah. So, school kids, we had no calculators.
No.
We had to do
My
the
father's
math.
system with the numbers.
Oh yeah, remember the multiplication table that she got in trouble with? Yeah, no, we had to do our multiplication tables and all this fancy little writing, and so now y'all can look it up. And I remember when Sammy, Mark was already living with his father, but when Sammy was still living with me, and she went to high school, and she needed a calculator, and I'm like, what the heck? Don't they teach the kids math anymore? But you know what? That's another thing. Math. We did old school math. We did math.
But you could use it any time if you knew how to do it.
You could use it any
You didn't
time.
need an instrument or anything else.
But then came new math.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I tried to do new math homework with Sammy one time, and I interject that I am a card-carrying member of Mensa. And I couldn't figure out new math. Well, just for what it's worth, I'm a word person, not a number person.
That's a good enough excuse for me.
It works for me too. You know what? We have, I gotta see how many minutes it says there. 26 minutes. We were doing a half hour and we've gotten this far. So I guess we're gonna have
You
to
can't
come
talk
back
much
soon.
faster. Just got to talk less.
But you know what? No! We gotta tell our stories as they come, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
This is our priceless life.
So appreciate that. You could sell this.
And what it
Make
was
a
like
book.
was, yeah. Oh, what an idea! Write a book. I should author. Go to Amazon.com, Alicia Leslie, and look up my wide variety of books that are there. Okay, I have to stop. We have to stop. We can really quickly.
Birds are heading south. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, the birds are heading south.
There's a whole flock of them flying in front of the window. Can you see
There
them
goes
all?
a flock of them now.
Wow. We're going to have an early fall.
And
leaves
the
are all-
hummingbirds have
leaves
stopped
are all
coming.
starting to turn color. And
Yep.
it's just the middle of September.
I hope that little hummingbird that was there this morning gets his butt out of town before it gets too cold.
I hope so.
You know,
Either
that's-
that or feather his nest a little more.
All right, you guys. We're done for today.
We were done before
But-
we started.
But we have a list of things that, as you know, that we will continue with another day. It may be our next video or another one on a day that we're so inspired. But I will tell you, as we realize, like my friend Linda said, life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it goes. So we're going to try to crank up our videos and do more faster, because we got decades of stuff to tell you. If you don't want to
And
watch
we'll go
it,
back and forth all over the place.
yeah.
Yeah, you got to take it as we can remember.
Join us on our next adventure So now it's a hawk. Sorry.
We're sitting here looking out the window.
You know that
looking
thing
to the
about
left.
squirrel?
Yep, I can't help it. You see a hawk fly right in front of the door. It's like, wow.
Until next time, which I hope won't be as long as it has been, but we've been really busy at the campground. We will see you
We only have another
soon.
month and a half.
Stay healthy and remember that you are living history and share it
I
with
hope
those
you love
you
it.
love. Yeah, me too. We hope you love it. Let us know if you love it. You can click the like button. You can email us.
We'll be back, and you never have to look at us again if you don't want to. But you want to. We know you want to.